Hi guys, Coach Joe Micela, Performance One Advanced Sports Training, 2012 Olympic team coach. I've been asked a couple different times about my early career and did it always come easy? And I said no, throughout my entire life, even in my entire career, I've always dealt with challenges and obstacles where there was numerous times in my life that a door shut and I could have just said screw it and gave up. And to challenge myself to do something when majority of people were telling me don't do it. Going back to my early career as a high school athlete, I was a high school wrestler, and I faced challenges where, hey, I was a little guy, nobody, out of a small town, small school. I made varsity as a freshman, and then I transferred schools. And I come to a new school, and it was like, who the frig is this kid? And then there was a challenge of like, can you actually do something, and prove yourself? So I was in a situation where I was like, hey, I was young, and I had to prove myself. And other kids would be like, hey, I'm a little, intimidated by it. And I was like, no, I went out there. I said, I'm going to, bust some heads. And I did, and then I made their team as a varsity athlete my sophomore year. It led me to build some momentum, to that. I was going into my senior year. I was a highly ranked athlete. I was like a top 2, top 3 kid in the state. I was predicted to be one of the top guys to finish in the state. I had these college programs that were looking at me and they were all going like, all right, well, it depends on how well you do. I didn't do well at all. I wound up finishing 4th. So a lot of the offers were like, hey man, we're pulling off our offer. So I had one offer from Rutgers University, and it was a partial. In wrestling, you didn't give full scholarship, you get partials out. And never forget, I show up, and the first day I'm in my English class, first day of class, and teacher's going around. She's like, yeah, everyone just tell a little bit about yourself, and going around the room, and this kid goes, hey, I'm such and such, and I don't want to say his name, but he went around and he said, I'm such and such, and I'm the new freshman heavyweight wrestler for Rutgers. I'm going, I thought I was the freshman heavyweight wrestler for Rutgers. So it goes around the room and gets back to me, and they're like, well, who are you? I'm like, I'm Joe Micela, and I'm the starting heavyweight wrestler for Rutgers University. And the kid looks at me, and I look at him like, who the frig are you, kid? So then immediately I get out of class, I take a beeline to the coach's office. I said, hey, what's going on? Who's this kid? And he says, well, you didn't do that well, so we're giving both of you partial scholarships, and we're basically going to see who starts. It's up to you whether you beat the kid or not. And I was pissed. I was so pissed because I was like, again, it was somebody in my life that wasn't, didn't support me and was kind of counting me out. But I was like, great, I'm going to show this coach what's up. So I went out, and then, like I said, and we're drilling, and I made an effort every practice to go hard on this kid. And then we wound up wrestling, and I wound up beating him. The story ends well, is that we wound up becoming friends afterwards, and actually down the road we became roommates. But I just had this obstacle and this challenge or something because like someone didn't believe in me. I was just like, come on, all right, let's go. So I would have this chip on my shoulder. So, as a younger kid, like I said, I was overweight. I always had a chip on my shoulder. So I started working out because I wanted to improve my body. And then I got in wrestling, I always just had this chip on my shoulder because people always like, you came from a small school, no one really cares about you. You didn't reach your full potential. Did I have like a stellar career? No, but I kept having challenges and I still kept overcoming them. And that was huge for me. So this situation in college was the same thing. Fast forward, I spent 2 years there, had a decent career, but I felt like I needed a bigger challenge. Rutgers at that time was a very good school, but it was not competing against the best consistently. Long, crazy story. I make it out to Arizona State and meet with the coach, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a change. I know you got a heavyweight, but I'm looking for a change. And at the time, their heavyweight was a multiple national champ out of Minnesota, and he was a junior national champ in Greco-Roman wrestling. He was very talented, and he was already a starter on the team for a couple of years. He's like, well, you can come out and you give it a shot, doesn't hurt us to have depth. And he's like, but, this kid's really good. And I was just like, okay. I was like, I just want an opportunity, And I got out there and I met the kid, and I was like, oh my God, this kid's a freaking monster. You gotta remember, in college, I wrestled between 230, 245, give or take pounds, and this kid was like cutting weight to make heavyweight. At the time, the weight class was up to 275, and he was well over 285, almost 300 pounds. And he was a big dude. He was like, I'm only 6 feet tall, and he was like maybe 6'3", maybe. He was tall, he was a lot taller. He was a big dude. And but I was determined. I was like, another person is in my way of where I need to go, and have that, challenge. I said I wanted a challenge. I moved out here for a reason. So I had to walk on the team. I had to basically do everything. And I was like, okay, let's do this, you know. And the next thing you know, we started going at it, and then we had a wrestle off. Boom, I beat the kid. But then he had like a little bit of an injury, and the coach was like, well, you can't do 2 out of 3 because he's hurt, you know, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to go into this tournament in California, and I'm going to start him. And I was like, but if you see each other, then, you know, we'll see what's up, you know. I was like, fuck, you know, I was pissed. And I was just like, all right. So now I had to pay my way to go out to California, unattached, and wrestle in this tournament. And we wrestle, and I make it into the finals. And I go up against the guy that eventually became the national champ. And, you know, I didn't beat him, but I made it into the finals. And the other kid didn't, you know. We wrestled one more time off, and I beat him again. And now their coach is like, shit, this guy who walked on the team was a walk-on, which doesn't happen. You know, unrecruited, unscholarship kid walks on and just beat out my starter for the last 2.5, 3 years, who I've spent and invested. He's on a full scholarship. And I'm sitting there going, you know, I got like ratty sneakers, and, you know, I'm eating top ramen, you know, at night because I'm living on a crazy small budget. But I was pissed and I was hungry. You know, I beat him. And then I had an okay career, an okay season, you know, like I was, you know, it was kind of one of those like, all right, you're on the team, but like no one really gives a shit about you because you're this kid, you know, we got lucky, you know, and then the other kid is like, you know, maybe he's going to come back and kick your ass. And I'm like, all right, you know, it never happened. So then the next season, going into my senior year of eligibility, the coach brought in like 2 other heavyweights. It was paying him money. And he's like, well, I don't believe in you. He didn't even offer me any money, even though I finished the season out. And I was like, this mother effer. I was like, you know, what do I got to do? So he brought in these 2 kids, and I made it my life's mission to kick the shit out of them every day. I said, hey, listen, I may not be the best in the nation, but I'm going to be the best in this friggin' room against these 2 guys. And I did. They didn't beat me. And I had to start. I started again that year. You know, again, had a little more success. You know, I won an award in one of our tournaments for the most pins in the least amount of time, but I didn't make it to the big show. I didn't place at Pac-12s. It was called Pac-10s back then. I didn't place, you know, I was like 4th. You know, I was like always like right there, you know, and I didn't make it to the NCAA tournament, which is, you know, it's a big deal. You know, you should make that. And I didn't say I was, you know, could have been it. But every time I wrestled, it was one of those things where it was like you were always being counted out. My thing was like, I just wanted to see how well I could do against some of these best guys. And yeah, I won some, I lost some, you know, but it was more the fact of the challenge. You know, I was always told, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do this. You know, you're from a small high school. You're not going to be able to make it to college and wrestle. You didn't win your state. Okay, well, I did. And then when I went to college, when I was at Rutgers, I beat a lot of state champions. You know, then when I got there, you know, Arizona State, it was like, well, you're at a premier Division I program. Like, you shouldn't be here because you're not a scholarship kid. Well, I did. I beat kids that be here. You know, I beat kids that should have beaten me like all day long. I beat state champions. I may have even beaten an All-American or 2, you know, throughout my career. I pinned kids in college that I probably shouldn't have been pinning. Well, I did, you know. Again, I didn't finish with, like I said, this phenomenal career in terms of wins and losses. It was more the challenge that I said, you know, I didn't back down when I was challenged. And then that kind of, you know, rolled into my coaching career as a strength and conditioning coach. It was like, well, you know, you are an undergraduate, you know, student, you know, in our program. You know, most of those guys don't get to do certain things. You're pretty much going to be cleaning out, you know, lockers and spotting people and filling up water containers. That's not good enough for me. Like, I can do more. You know, I'm confident in what I can do. And then I earned the trust of the coach at the time. Next thing you know, he's like, hey, we're going to take these sports that no one really gives a shit about. You're going to take women's tennis. You're going to take men's tennis. You're going to take men's golf, women's golf, and you're going to take swimming. Because, you know, the diehard strength and conditioning coach is like, we just want to work with football and basketball. We don't want to work with these other shit teams. And I was like, I just want experience and show me give me the opportunity. And I did. And as an undergraduate, I was able to work with those teams to the point where I was writing their programs as a 23-year-old, you know, undergraduate. You know, I was given responsibility to do everything. And I was like, okay, to the point where then they brought in an assistant coach who had to take over for me because I wasn't, you know, legally allowed to be doing a lot of that stuff. And the kids and the athletes and even the coaches of those teams were like, no, we want Joe. Because Joe's been busting his ass and he gives a shit, you know, with us, you know. And I was just like, oh, wow. I felt like I earned their trust because I worked my ass off, you know, but it was a challenge. Then fast forward, I was applied for the position to be an actual graduate assistant, and I was denied. How am I denied? You know, I'm an alumni, or I'm a I'm an athlete in this program, or been an athlete in this program. I proved myself as an undergrad doing basically the equivalent of assistant coach's job, even though I wasn't being paid for it. But now you're denying me as an undergraduate assistant. I said, well, you think you'd be better if you went someplace else and got other experience. I was pissed. So then that, again, gave me another kind of motivational tool, another chip on my shoulder to go prove that I could do this someplace else. I wound up going to Northern Arizona University to work as a grad assistant. And when I was there, the head coach decided, hey, I'm taking another job and I'm leaving. I was like, holy shit, we're only a staff of you, an assistant, me, and another girl for the entire Division I program. He's like, yeah, it kind of sucks. And then the day after he left, the assistant said, peace out, homie, I'm out too. Next thing I know, I went from being an undergraduate assistant to being promoted as the interim head coach until they could find somebody in place of me, or in place of the previous guy. So I went from having a staff of 4 to a staff of 2, and we were just there for the first couple of weeks a month. And me and this other girl, we basically just kicked everybody's ass for the 3.5 months until they found the replacement. But it was stressful, but I was like, all right, let's go. Oh, you went from like, having a job that was divided by 4 people to now 2. But you're the person who's getting all the responsibility to do everything. You're now in charge of over 200 plus athletes that you have to now listen to the coaches, program them. Again, I wound up working, I basically was like, can I just sleep here? Because I'm going to be here all the time. But I accepted that challenge, and I fought for everything, and I appreciated that. Fast forward again, now I go into the sport of Olympic weightlifting more full time into the early 2000s, and well, you didn't grow up in the sport. You weren't an athlete yourself, but I was producing. Again, I looked at it as a challenge of like, hey, F you. You know what I mean? I can do this. I never forget when I had my first kid that really did really well, and then I had a mentor coach that was, guiding me, and he just came to show support at an event. And because he was standing next to me and my athlete, everyone immediately ran to him, congratulating him on my athlete's performance. And the mentor at the time was like, hey, I really didn't have anything to do with this kid. Joe did everything. I'm basically here to support the kid and Joe. And the coaches looked at him when he said that. I was very appreciative that he said that. And it was kind of like a great moment for me because it was like this moment of reckoning that said, hey, I'm actually doing this. And then that led into other things. But there was a lot of times, even in weightlifting, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't be picked for this, you can't be picked for that. In 2008, I had 2 athletes on the junior world team. I had the most athletes on the team, and I wasn't selected for the team as a coach. I had to pay my own way to go down to Columbia and coach my athlete. I slept on the floor in a parent's room because I literally just bought a ticket and showed up in Columbia. And I had no place to stay. I had to basically bullshit my way to get a credential. Luckily, I got good skills. And next thing I know, I'm coaching them. One of those athletes took second in that competition. I had the highest performing athletes on that team, or at least one of them. And I was never given the opportunity to coach them outright, And I had that other times that I got pissed on in weightlifting. And I said, you know what? I just kept using it as motivation. F you guys, F you guys, F you guys. To the point where then I had an athlete that made the Olympic team in 2012. The year before, in 2011, every Olympics has a test event. And I've been this athlete's primary coach in her as an Olympic weightlifter competing on a national level. She had a previous coach, but I was the primary coach at this point. USA Weightlifting didn't put my name down as a list to go to London for the test event. Guys, what the frick? Why is my name not on this list? Well, we didn't know if you really wanted to go and coach her. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, I'm the only person who's been coaching this frickin' girl. I was like, they were shitting on me again. So I went out of my way. I was like, F you guys, Then I was raising my own money to go anyway, and I did. Then London Olympics rolls around, and then they were almost telling me that I almost couldn't coach my own girl in the back. I said, F you. I got her this far. I'm coaching her ass this far. Basically, I told everyone, kind of leave me alone. I either going to make a mistake or I'm going to do really well. But I don't want anybody to basically help me when I coached her. To the point where I had another coaching pass that I could have gave to another coach. I gave it to the team doctor. I said, I'd rather have you in the back here than anybody else back here helping me. Because I don't, at this point, I don't trust anybody. Okay, I got her here. I want to show that there's no way that anybody else is getting credit for this situation other than me. And it was just thing after thing that people were like, hey man, maybe it's my charming personality. I don't know. But I was just like, I'm going to take full credit for this, whether we go down in flames or we go, rise on high. My point is that in life, you get these challenges and these situations, and it could be like one, or it could be a series of events. And some people just go, man, life is just always pounding me down and I can never get a break. And people will live this victim mentality and this woe is me mentality. Or you can say, you know what, F that. Yeah, shit sucks. I feel like I'm getting shafted, and it's not that I'm getting shafted once or twice. I feel like I'm getting shafted in multiple areas. One, you got to learn what you're doing, that you're creating this bad juju in your life. But at the same time, you got to just say, all right, this is the situation. What's my way out of it? What's my way around it? What's my way to get over this situation? Someone's counting you out. Okay, now, did my girl win the Olympic gold medal? No, but we got her there. We had a positive day. I turned a negative into a positive. I turned a situation where someone was counting me out, either as a coach or as an athlete or in any of my situations, and I said, listen, I'm taking this as motivation. I'm going to find a way. Oh, you really can't be successful in a private practice, strength conditioning, Olympic weightlifting. Okay, let's make it work. Am I driving around like, 10 Range Rovers? No, but I put a roof over my head. My kids don't go starving. And like I said, I'm able to have several employees that can kind of work under me. I'm making it work, okay? I find a way to make it work, okay? I don't take no, or I don't take, this is impossible as an answer, okay? I want to see that challenge. And I can only hope that other coaches want that too, okay? Not everyone's going to have the golden goose with everything you do and you just go, and they just do everything you have. It's better to have those difficulties. It's better to have those hardships. I learn more from those situations. Kind of one of the reasons why I always look pissed off all the time, because I'm always never satisfied. But at the same time, it is who I am and it's made me. Okay? To not be satisfied and to always keep pushing things. So my take home again is that, life is going to kind of kick you in the balls, more than once, and, you have to kind of say how you're going to respond to that. How you're going to take that situation in your life. And it can start very early on. And again, it could be continuous. I'm not saying my life is miserable. I have a lot of bright spots. But there's moments, and I'm not there. I guarantee you there's going to be other ones in the future. But how I react to those moments of rejection, non-support, counting me out, even to the point of people purposely putting obstacles out in front of me to kind of make me not succeed. Now how I respond to that is on me. And then what I choose to do with that negative energy and turn it to my advantage. That's what I want, people to get out of things. That it's not, your reaction is everything. Your choice in how do you react to a bad situation. My dog died, this happened, blah, blah, blah. No one likes me, my ugly, okay, now what? You're done venting about it? What are you going to do about it? But it just keeps happening and keeps happening. These things keep happening to me. Why? What are you doing that you're creating that? Or if it's just, you're not doing anything wrong. That could be purely validated. But and how do you react to that? How do you not, have that situation happen to you? Or if it does happen to you, all right, boom, let's move forward. Let's move on to it. Still do your best that you can, whatever it is. Keep setting a goal, keep setting a challenge out in front of you, and not just always taking an easy way out. I didn't have to come to Arizona State. I could have stayed at Rutgers, had a nice little career. It was good. I'm not saying anything against it. Could have finished out and had a nice little career, moved on, do what I did. I said, I just think I need to see if I can prove myself against the better talent in the country. And I did. I got my head beat in, yeah. But I also saw where I was, where I was deficient at. But I also beat some kids too that I shouldn't have beat, I got to experience things I never got to experience. Same thing in coaching. I made some choices. I pushed some kids. Did I push some kids too far? Yeah, I probably did. Did I push some kids really far and they accepted it and they did really well? Yeah. And I have more of those that did that. So, I just hope that, again, as you as a coach or you as an athlete, you understand these challenges are going to happen in your life. Don't despair. Dig deep. It truly will define who you are as a person, and I guarantee you, if you accept those challenges and keep going forward, it's only going to make you better.